All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Saturday, March 11th, 2023, and we have the Pocket Change Market Report for you guys to take a look at. And boy, what a bonkers 24 hours that I have witnessed. We have the first official sale of probably the big chase coin of 2023. You're definitely not going to want to miss that. It was only a matter of time, and I actually found out that the person that owns that coin for sale, or that did sell, is actually a friend of not only this channel but the live coin Q&A as well. It's amazing, and congrats to him. I thought that what it sold for was a pretty big mountain of cash. So you guys are definitely going to want to pay attention to this because it could be the next big thing. Only one has been discovered up to this point, but based off of what I do know about the coin, there should be more out there for you guys to take a look at. So aside from that, man, just some pretty amazing stuff. We have some of our usual suspects. We have a couple little market updates on a few coins. Especially the 2023 coinage. We have a few of those to discuss here on the PCMR today. But overall, just a wide range of different coins. We actually have a few lots that sold. I think they sold for a really good amount of money. Really good way to kind of make money for your own eBay store is by picking up some of those lots and then reselling the individual coins. But overall, aside from all that, a lot of the coins that you're going to see here today, at one point were found in circulation. They were found going through coin rolls from the bank. It's another thing that most people don't think about. Some of these are even cherry-picked at local coin shops and big shows or small shows too. Sometimes some of your hidden gems can be found at those smaller shows. But overall, I mean, if you could find it and then buy it or obtain it for either face value or at the non-attributed price of an error or variety, then this is going to be a way for you to add something really, really cool to your collection. Maybe something you've been looking for quite a while. But also, in addition, a lot of things that people are doing, they're reselling these. And they're making a really good living as a secondary supplemental income. Some people have converted over to doing it full time, being just an online dealer on this platform on eBay. So we have, I would say, about the last 24 hours of market activity, probably a little less than that. It was a very busy 24 hours. People are taking advantage of their income tax refunds, I would imagine, and that's why we're seeing some pretty good sales as we normally do the same time every year. But above all else, we don't talk about graded coins. I throw that in there as well. Again, it's too expensive to grade some of these coins when they just simply sell really well for themselves. And the listings that you see in the photos are all original to that seller's listings. So we didn't juice anything. We didn't change anything to modify the coin to make it look better. You're getting the best and the worst out of this report. So a quick little thing. My Whatnot auction last night. Again, very smooth. Thank you again to everyone that participated in some of my coin auctions from last night. Very busy. Was able to throw in a couple extras in there. But a week from yesterday or this upcoming Friday, we will have another auction. So if you guys missed out on the last two, we have another one coming up here this Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time in the evening and 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So check that out. I'm going to post the show sometime this weekend, and then I will let you guys know what that link is in case you guys wanted to bookmark the show. But overall, it's been a really great success. Better than I have ever imagined it going. It's very smooth. The payment systems are smooth, and the shipping is smooth as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's see some of these treasures that people have found. Let's go ahead and start out with this 1979 Washington quarter. All right, so what's going on here? It looks like some of the nickel-clad layer ripped off, and I'm gonna say and go out on a limb that the piece that's missing was helped along. I'm pretty sure that this was probably a clamshell lamination at one point. That's where you have a split right on the very edge of the coin where the reading is. But some folks, they just can't help themselves. They'll actually attempt to peel off the layer, and they end up tearing that layer at a certain point. They really call these detached laminations. This one might even be considered damaged as well, because under normal circumstances, you really don't want to tear a clamshell lamination off the coin. You want to keep that retained on the coin at all possible. But all is not lost for this quarter. There was enough interest for it that it did sell for $37.50, which is pretty wild. Not too bad for what I consider to be just an average ho-hum kind of date. 79 is just 79. The next one that we have here should be very familiar to you guys, and these sell quite frequently. The In God We Rust quarters with the strike through on the obverse is a popular. I don't know how else to describe this. It has its own kind of audience, and people do pay probably more money than these things deserve credit for. But again, that's a part of the appeal with some of these coins. If the anomaly in question serves in a certain spot where it's convenient, like in this case, the T from the word trust on the obverse is missing. Therefore, it has this nickname, In God We Rust. And that's part of the appeal for such coins, and that's why they are collectible even to this day. So you can even see this one is a lot better condition than some of the other ones we've seen. I would say this is probably a mid-state condition coin. You can even see some of those strike-through anomalies all across the fields there. It looks like paint splatter, on both sides even. So there was definitely a nice, healthy coating of grease on the dies. The missing T is simply just a clogged die, so some of that grease ended up in the die device for that letter, and it didn't strike up at all. So where are we at on this mid-state version of the coin? Now, we've seen the regular circulated ones sell for about $5 to $8. Very reasonable for those. I would probably object a little bit more if they were like 20, 30, 40 bucks. This one right here sold for $19, and again, it's a nice BU example of this error type that people do love. There's a little bit of a close-up. I mean, most of them will have like a shadow T where the T in trust is. That's normal. Very rarely do we see anywhere it's like a completely flat field area in front of that R. But this is normally what it would look like up close. Okay, so I see quite a bit of what they call blank Type 2 planchets, and the Type 2 means that these have the upset rims. These are ready to go for production. And Lincoln Cents, especially the copper-coated zinc composition blanks, are very common. They are like a dime a dozen, and in this particular case, it certainly is. So this seller has been selling lots of 20 of these, and if you think you're going to buy these thinking you're going to make some pretty big money, that probably isn't the case. These are extremely slow sellers when they're offered as traditional buy it now listings on eBay. So if you bought, say, this lot of 20, which by the way is sold for $20, $19.99, sure, that's a pretty cheap, kind of cost for each one at $1 a piece. But you gotta figure, how much can you sell these for? $4, $5? You gotta do the shipping. It's a lot of work for a very little bit of amount of money. So if you like these and you like everything about them, then buy them and add them to your collection. This particular seller has a bunch of them. Here's a little old ball mason jar full of them. So again, they're not particularly rare. A lot of folks were finding these out of the mint bags back in the late 90s and early 2000s, back when they were still issuing that from the Federal Reserve Bank. They were actually quite commonplace then. Alright, so this is not the big Bessie Coleman that is the highlight of the show, but again, this is more of a market update on a coin that generated a ton of buzz the moment that the first examples were found. Now, these are going to be on the P-minted coins, and what we're going to be looking at, of course, is that incuse machine doubling, which shows actually a very dramatic secondary E in the initials on that reverse. But keep in mind, this is what they consider die damage, all right? As cool and dramatic as it is, it will always have value. I will go and say that. But these things at $50, $60 right out of the gate, and they sustained that for about 4 to 6 weeks, which is kind of odd. You know, that's a very strong amount of money for that. But as soon as like word came out that these are machine doubled type of anomalies, things really began to cool down on them. So this particular example right here sold for $8.95. This is probably on the lower side of the spectrum because I still see a few that have sold as high as like $12 to $15. But they are certainly not 50, 60 bucks as they were a few weeks ago. So be cautious. Don't overspend on these. If you do have them, you could probably try and get away with selling these at, you know, like 10 bucks a piece. Maybe, you know, throw them up at some reasonable amount of money where it's kind of like on the lower side of the market, because there are so many of these out there for sale that it's going to be a matter of being the best price for what it is. So if you're up there like $14.99 shipped, that might be a little bit too high. Then most people are willing to cough up because there's just many more that are being sold for cheaper. All right, well, this is just a really cool off-center struck 1999p Roosevelt dime. You know, this is same old seller, just continuing to crank out some beauties. Again, a very nice mid-state example. It's probably either an off-center strike or a really uncentered broad strike. You know, they look very similar. The difference being how much of a full rim does it show. And this one, not really anything to speak of as far as the rim there on the front of the coin. A little bit of a comparison, way bigger than a traditional dime in terms of size. This is probably about as big as a Lincoln cent as far as diameter goes, which is normal. This one sold for $22.38. And again, that's just kind of like the regular amount of money that you can expect for these. And again, the date falls in line to a period where a lot of these were pushed through the Federal Reserve Bank in these mint-sewn bags. So that's where a lot of these were being found. So just to let you guys know, folks have commented like, there's no way that the Mint would let these out. Yeah, there is a way, because they just didn't give a hoot back in the late 90s, and they just pushed these out. Now, if they were just egregiously, big, mid-error, then they'll pull those out. But things like this is minor enough to them that they'll just go ahead and push it through into general circulation. From the same seller as well, we have this 2000D Jefferson nickel. It's off-center by about 85%. The seller stated 85%, so we'll just go with that. Yeah, I would say you do have kind of a full date. You can see the last few numbers of the date. 2000D, again, falls in line with that time period where the Mint didn't care about letting these push through in those mint-sewn bags. This one sold for $27.38. Again, these are collected by date, so anyone that's looking for this particular date in mint mark will pick up something like this. As long as there's a readable date in mint mark, that's where a lot of the desirabilities come into play for these. All right, so this one's strange. At first glance, I thought, oh yeah, that's a really cool bisecting die crack on the reverse. But when you begin to look at the whole coin, all right, you see a lot of plating blisters, both on the obverse and the reverse of the coin. And then everything became really clear now that we know that this one had a lot of plating blisters. And this is all caused, by the way, due to some impurities between the plating and the actual zinc core. So this is, again, very common to see. Plating blisters don't traditionally command a premium on the secondary market. I would say that most of them are worth face value. However, this one, this one can fool some people. It could very well be a die crack, but based off of what we're seeing here, it looks like a ruptured plating blister that had bisected the reverse there. So that's normally what it looks like. Although it looks very convincing to be a die crack as well. When you go up into this section right here, this looks more like a plating blister area, but it falls in line again with the crack that goes through the monument. This one ended up selling for $15.24, which I think it's okay. Again, this is kind of going to be one of those circumstantial, kind of like very neat little oddities that you could add to your collection. If anything, it's going to be a good kind of sample of what a ruptured plating blister would look like. Now, this is kind of like, I would say, the more minor type of rupture, because usually when a plating blister ruptures, it exposes a whole bunch of zinc, and that's generally where they begin to rot at. Therefore, zinc rot, is what we have terminology-wise for that anomaly. So, pretty cool. Very nice condition coin, too. Okay, so this is something a little bit more familiar. Again, minor end of the totem pole in the Error World 1960 Lincoln Memorial cent that exhibits a couple very shallow rim clips. You have this one here that's very easy to see. And then right here as well, a little tiny thing. You can see it a lot better right here above the of in United States of America. So that is that. It does have very slightly, kind of like flattened area here on the rim. We call that Blakesley effect. It's something you generally want to see on these, but the bigger the clip, the more stronger the Blakesley effect's going to be. This one right here, very nice condition, by the way. Sold for $13.17. Again, it's a very minor error. If you could get that kind of money, I would sell it all day long. Okay, well, our boy over here who had a number of these available as a what we call Dutch auction. That's the old school terminology back in early days of eBay, where someone can sell a number of these at a specific fixed price. You just go in, you buy 1, you buy 10, you buy however many you need. So he had 5 of these 2017 P Shield cents with the strong die clashing, especially on the obverse. You can see that right here. Again, this is a picture that's very familiar because I've talked about this same seller, offering these up. And this is, again, one of the strongest clashings that you'll come across in the Shield cent series, bar none. And the fact that it's on a P minted 17 makes it a little bit more special when you could see the physical P mint mark on there, which is the only date in the Lincoln Cent series that has a physical P mint mark. So the seller officially had sold out of what they had with this one sale here sometime overnight. Again, $40.25 was the sale price. That's with shipping. And well done. A lot of money made off of this particular error. And if any more come up, just keep in mind that these are $30 to $40 coins, and they should be treated as such because of how strong they are. And the stronger the clash, the more that they're going to be wanted. So this one was actually quite tricky. The seller had mentioned that this is a struck through, and I'm probably leaning more toward that. But I can't help but thinking, you know what? It could be a die adjustment strike too. It could be, I think the only thing that's preventing me from saying, yes, it's a die adjustment strike, that's where the Mint employees are testing out the pressure of each strike during this kind of like honeymoon phase of when they're trying to figure out the pressurization for each of the respective coins they're producing. So they have to continuously... They have to, play around with this so that way it gets the perfect strike every time. There's micro calibrations involved, things like that. But we do have a coin here that is quite intriguing. At first glance, I'm like, yeah, it could be a die adjustment strike. But looking at it more and more, I'm like, yeah, there was a lot of grease on that die. It was more relegated to the very edge of that die. And that's why we have all of the softness of the strike all around the edge. But in spite of that, look at the reverse. It's got a full rim, very nice heavy strike, except for the steps. It has virtually no steps on there. It's 1974 too. But another thing that I've noticed on die adjustment strikes is you're going to have a lot of weakness on the devices as well. This one has a very well struck Jefferson profile. The bust is actually quite nice and very detailed in comparison to some of the other DASs I've come across, where it's generally very weak down the middle because there's just not enough pressure there. And you can even see that on the reverse on occasion. So for this one, quite the oddity. It ended up, selling for a pretty good amount of cash. $55.59 with 3 bids was the final result on this one. Now, this is what a true kind of struck through grease looks like. This is about as greasy of a greaser as you'll get on a New Hampshire quarter. And we're just going to speculate that it's a pea mint. That's generally where we see a lot of these being, where the origin of these type of errors come from. But really cool when you can see this kind of strong strike through and just incredible weakness in all of the devices. And there's no mint mark really to read on there. That thing was filled. It looks like there's a little shadow of a P, but we won't really know unless we have the thing in hand. But yeah, this might be the bargain of today's PCMR session at $5.59. So seems like a little bit of a steal, because I've seen others, especially a statehood quarter series coin, where errors are being treated with a little bit more respect, and they generally sell for a pretty good market. This thing's probably underpriced by 10 or 15 bucks. So someone got a good deal off that. All right, one of the coolest varieties that you'll ever come across. This is an Over-mintmark that you should not ignore. 1952 D over S Lincoln Wheatcent. The coin is in great shape. This was offered by Brian Rybar, who goes by the name of Jim Macker. I can't pronounce it very well. But on eBay, his stuff is all over. He's got a pretty good big footprint as far as varieties go for Lincoln cents. But here's a little bit of a close-up. You can see the bottom tail of the letter S of the San Francisco mint mark. I would presume that these planchets or these coins were already struck with S mints on them, I guess. Or the mint employee accidentally punched an S mint mark in there and then rectified that by punching a D over it. So I would say that the latter is what happened here. Again, very nice coin. It's FS 511 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. $71.40 was the sale on this one. And we do have a pretty nice 1964. There is just enough of that last digit that we know that that is what it is, and so did the seller. Off-center by about 10-15% this time around. Nice, even chocolatey brown. I would say it's problem-free. And this one sold for $19.05 with 13 bids. Pretty remarkable looking double struck nickel here. 1985 P, it looks like. And the secondary strike is about 75% off center. Very nice. I mean, these are very well collected, and if you could pick one up that's raw and problem-free, that's where your best value is going to be, because these are traditionally very expensive to obtain when they're in a graded holder. This one sold for $164.50 with 32 bids. I don't know if you guys remember a couple PCMRs ago, someone did sell a 1964 candy $half that was double struck, pretty similar to this, for like I don't know, $900 or something. A similar coin that was graded in PCGS plastic sold in the last 24 hours for $2,500. So again, that's kind of like, that's one of those cases where this is a no-brainer. Send it to a grading company, get it in a holder, attributed as an error. It's going to be worth the amount of money. Like this one graded probably would be worth $300 to $400. So a little something to consider if you come across these. Again, problem free. That's what you want to look for. And here's a 1988 P Washington quarter. It's about 20% off center. Now the seller stated that this is a 1984, and it's not. It's a 88. This one sold for $36.84 with 15 bids. Another needed date for a date set of this type of error. And, here's another one to keep in your back pocket. These will still have a little bit of value, but this is the Sally Ride P-Mint American Women Quarter from last year, 2022. Again, that die clash, you got to look out for that. This one has the really nice die clashing, as you can see here. This one a little bit more shallow than a few of the others I've personally seen. But still, you know, another just a really good find. This one sold for $25.25. Still a very healthy market for these. All right, so this is more like it. I like these kind of lots. Even though I'm not a big fanboy of blank planchets, there are a few nicer, larger denomination planchets that I think are a little bit more worthwhile to consider. Especially the $50 blanks. The larger the planchet, the better. They're just going to be more desirable and more valuable. But let's not ignore the laundry list of various clips. And it's cool that there's one of each denomination in U.S. coinage down below. So you have that 77 Kennedy, which is really attractive. A no-date Washington. It looks like it's a little bit broad-struck as well. You have a triple clipped Jefferson nickel. You have a single clip dime and another single clip Lincoln cent. So all in all, this lot sold for $78 with 21 bids. And I will tell you this right now, that Kennedy $50 will recoup at least half your money back at that $78. But it's looking like that this could be a very good lot to buy if you're going to resell. So again, $78 with 21 bids was the final price on this one. Someone obviously has some ideas for this lot. And, you know, the thing is, it didn't have any pictures of the back of the coins. I would have liked to see that, even if they're all kind of grouped together like this one. But always post both sides of the coin. And you can do that very easily with this lot. All right, quick little PSA. These things are all over the place in multiple dates, but check out this very well circulated 2021 P Jefferson nickel with the Beehive die chip on the back. That's what these are called, because the die chip is hanging off the side of the building and it looks like a beehive. Now, this was a very big beehive. You know, I'm sure if this was in real life, this thing would be about as big as a Buick sitting on the side of the building. So this particular one right here sold for $10.08, and they're everywhere. The larger the beehive, the more that they're kind of going to be worth. But people are looking for progression sets of these. So if you could sell them by the set, or you know, with like the tiny die chip going and progressing to the larger, or selling them individually, you'll do really well on these. All right, well, we've gotten to the coin. 2023P Bessie Coleman. I talked about this one just the other day on the coins you should be looking out for, and I'm reinforcing that with this sale. This is the coin that was found by Joey K, again, a friend of not only the Blue Ridge Silverhound channel, but the live coin Q&A as well. He's constantly on our Monday live stream, so this is going to be a pretty nice topic. This one ended up selling for $500. Woo! Yes, that was awesome, and it couldn't have happened to a better person. Joey K has been in the community for a while, and when I found out that this was his coin, I was excited. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at that strike through there. It looks more, honestly, more like a meteor or something going through the plane there, but this is a marquee field restricted strike through, similar to what you see on the Tuskegee Airmen strike through quarters, where with the burning building. This is instead called the burning airplane, and I think it fits pretty well here with this one. So $500 was the best offer that he accepted, and so far it is the only one known. So there might be multiples out there. Hopefully you guys can be on the lookout for this, and if you do come across one, just know that they are quite pricey. $500 is a pretty good bar to set. All right, now this one looks like it's circulated for a while, but it's a 1999 P Washington quarter, and yeah, it's slightly off-center by a little bit. Not too much, maybe less than 5% or so, but still, it's a relevant error to be on the lookout for. $16.98 was the sale on this one. And funny as it seems, you do come across these ever so often. This is a 1962 proof set, and it's a packing error. There are actually 2 proof dimes and 2 proof Jefferson nickels in their respective little pouches. It's not supposed to be like that, just to let you guys know. And this sale does include the original envelope and certificate of authenticity, or that little card they put in there to let you know that it's, we hand-picked these, obviously, because look at this thing. Their quality was spot on in the 60s. A little bit of a back picture showing those there. Again, this is, some will argue that this is a mint error, but it's a packaging error first. And then that conversation can continue on the back end for it being, packaged incorrectly at the mint. Therefore, it's a mint error. So this one didn't quite sell as much as I thought it would. $37.68 with 3 bids, which is pretty close to what you could buy these for without the error. All right, which is right around 25 to 30 bucks. And we have a 1998, I think that's a P mint, Jefferson nickel that was struck through a late stage cap die. So again, another favorite among error enthusiasts. These are up there in value. This particular one sold for $36.99. So again, $30 and up is the norm for a lot of these cap die strikes. And how about this 1978 Lincoln Memorial set in the hands of well-manicured fingers, which means a lot, because I've seen a lot of folks hold their coins in pictures, and it looks like they just worked on a car before they listed some of these coins. So this is kind of refreshing. Nice clean fingers and fingernails on this young lady. But 1978 is the date. Off-center by about, 30%, somewhere around there. And this one sold for $68. This is a date that we don't see come up too often, and it's a necessity for date sets. Here's our other lot. I actually like this one as well. A lot of 10 various dates of Lincoln cents that all have a clip on them. Some of them have 2 clips, like the top left coin there. It looks like a 1959. But all in all, we have like a nice 50-50 mix of wheat cent backs and memorial cent backs. There's a little bit of the reverse there. Again, could there be some opportunity to make money here? Maybe. This lot sold for $29.99. That's 3 cents per. You could probably sell the wheat cents for about maybe $11, $12 a piece. And then the other ones you could sell for about, $6 to $8. So yeah, I would say you could probably double your money, but these are going to be kind of like the low and slow listings. They're going to sit in your eBay store for a little while, but they'll sell eventually. Always good to see one of these. It doesn't matter what it looks like. 1983 Lincoln Memorial set with its fair share of plating blisters, but you can't really deny a very, very appealing double to die reverse. This is the big one. Was it FS 801 or whatever it is? It's a huge variety. There's a little bit of a close-up. 1 cent, United States of America are all going to show this wild doubling. And this one right here ended up at $234.15, which is a very, very nice amount of money for this. And coins and cards. I mean, there is bound to be a coins and cards listing on every PCMR because they sell pretty much daily. But how about this 1864 L on ribbon Indian head cent? This is a marvelous typeset piece, or just an overall pleasing inclusion into a high-end Indian head cent album. But yeah, this one has some pretty wicked die clashes, especially on the reverse. Funny that I don't see much of it on the obverse, except behind the neck area there. But it's also a very well-known repunch date. It's the 1864 over 1864. You can see the repunching on the top of the 1 and top of the 8 specifically on this. And then the clashing you can see there to the right of the E and 1. And right above the O in 1 as well. And where did this one settle? $330 with 18 bids. And a lot of that has to do with the grade. This thing is like a technical AU brown. It's that beautiful. And if you guys are seeing kind of like that doubling on the obverse letters, that's Longacre doubling. All right, that's very common. It's like machine doubling. We have a 1970S Lincoln Memorial cent that was struck through, again, a late stage cap die. And this thing, was the cap was not long for tearing and folding on in on itself. We're probably beginning to see some of that here with this one. When the cap is like razor thin, where it's pushing through all of the normal design devices through it to strike up the coins, that's when you know that that cap is ready to say bye-bye. So this one sold for $91.47. Again, a little bit tougher date for this type of error. And really nice one here. I mean, we talk about misaligned dies all the time, but we don't see it in action on much older coins, like this 1853 braided hair large cent. Good looking coin. I love it when they have nice circulation. They've been around the block a few hundred dozen times. 1853 again, you have that misaligned die on the obverse, and then very, very well centered reverse. This one sold for $96.63 with 20 bids. Again, another something to be on the lookout for there in the show circuit. You'd be surprised how many dealers would just sell these for, a non-error price. It happens all the time. And this one is crazy. 1990p Kennedy half dollar. You don't see a lot of these particular specimens not graded, so this is kind of like a welcome surprise. And again, letting you guys know that you can't sell these on their own. This is a genuine true blue example of this wild error. You have a full date mint mark, you have all of the best devices showing off center. $340 was the best offer accepted on this particular example. I think seems like a lot of money because it's very worthwhile on these larger denomination coins. And then finally, it always seems like, this is the last coin by the way, it always seems like that we always end off the show on a Tuskegee Airman. Here's why this one's important. This is the first sale in quite a long time, and I'm probably going to go out and say at least 6 to 8 months, where a sale was realized on the burning building strike through up over $200. They used to sell for that all during the holidays in 2021. They were the hottest thing going, and they've dipped down quite a bit. A lot of these tend to sell for like $60 to $100. So I'm kind of like, oh, well, there goes the glory days. But this is a nice mint state version. I think that's where you need to be on these to realize the full potential of a market, is mint state examples that look like what you can find back in 2021. And that's what this one is. So this one sold for $203.99. I mean, it's just a shade over 200, but that's a very important number. That used to be kind of like that bar for the longest while. And this is a very nice one, So, yeah, pretty crazy. The market, when you look up close, this thing is like a deep cavern right there on that building, which is the headquarters of the airmen there. So, yeah, pretty cool. Always look out for these. And if you have a nice one, just know that they're worth quite a bit of money still. Well, you guys got your work cut out for you. Go out there and do some hunting. It was a lot of fun talking about these coins this week. Look out for that burning airplane. That's all the rage right now because we had the one first ball drop with that big, huge $500 sale. That should be a big target for you guys. And that's going to go ahead and do it. I'm your host, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. It was always a pleasure doing the PCMR for you twice a week. Stay tuned for the next one. That'll come on Wednesday. But I'm going to leave you guys for now. So you guys have fun. Enjoy your hunt. Enjoy the hobby. And I'll see you on the next coin video.